Thank you for joining me today on the Who God Says podcast. I am your host and Kingdom Ambassador, Tyshaundra. Hi, hi, hi. Today we have a special guest joining us. He is an actor, model, and a high performance coach. Roman Fischer, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. How are you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. Just starting the week off right. Got a, morning workout in. Just killed an upper body workout, getting some content done, doing some interviews, and gonna get some headshots done later too. So it's been a really good, solid, productive day.
Awesome. I like that you said productive because a lot of times we say we're busy, and most of the time you can be busy and not be productive, but I like that. I
Oh
like to
yeah.
have productive days. Yes, I like that. So I want to start by just kind of learn a bit about your background, like where you grew up and how you got introduced into fitness.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. So I was born in Ohio. I lived there about 5 years with my family. My father actually moved us though from where we were in Ohio. I was born in Toledo, grew up
Mhm.
a little bit in Perrysburg, which was technically a suburb of Toledo. And after about 5 years living there, just actually was moved down of all places, moved down to Arkansas, where I've lived. Yeah, it's a crazy transition. But yeah, his job moved him here, where I've been most of my life.
Mhm.
And so he's, yeah, worked in Little Rock as a computer programmer, and then the rest of my family. My mom did caregiving, and then I, of course, just went to school. Growing up with my two siblings, actually, I was the middle child, so I had
Ooh.
an older sister, and younger brother, and so essentially, I just grew up not really with much of a concern or much of a mind to fitness or health. I
Mhm.
would say the only thing I did growing up, especially when I was in school, was really just playing some soccer, recreationally and within school even. And that was really it. I didn't really do much more activity beyond that. Because after school, I would literally just come home and lounge around, eat anything I saw, and played any video game that I could get my hands on. So that
Wow.
was literally me. That was a past me before I really had care in the world, any care in the world about, health or fitness. So it's crazy the transition I made from where I was to where I am now. Not to say that I don't like or enjoy video games. They're cool and fun in their own right, and I still dabble in them from time to time, but definitely not like I used to. I definitely
Mhm.
make health and fitness number one priority before anything.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, if I have a little bit of free time, I definitely will boot up, a Switch game or one of those fun video games with, especially if I'm with family. So that's really cool, and that's definitely a lot of what I've, had in my life growing up. But what really got me into fitness, because it's not something that I was always into, as I mentioned, and a lot of people that might come as a shock to them, because a lot of people that have followed me, you would think just based off of if not all my content, most or much of my content, that I've been a fitness junkie, one of those fitness fanatics. And so really what segued me into fitness, though, the whole fitness world and the fitness industry, was my brother. Actually, of all people, my younger brother really heavily inspired me to want to jump right into fitness and give it a go, give it a try. Because I never really had any concern about it. And so after seeing my brother lift weights for the first time, and then seeing him make that gradual change and even that
Mhm.
gradual transformation on his body and his physique both, it really inspired me. It's like, man, because him and I both grew up and we were skinny, skinny kids growing up throughout school. So seeing him actually make that, step to actually changing his body and improving his overall health from the inside out. And then seeing, yeah, just the muscle definition and muscle growth over time with his strength, that really definitely inspired me. And I couldn't, say no to that. It's like if my younger brother can do it, surely I could do it too. So, man,
Right.
if there's anyone that's going to inspire me here, it's him. So after doing a lot of that, and then of course I had some people that I looked up to, like some of the really, really famous bodybuilders, Arnold, yeah, the list goes on and on. Ronnie Coleman, a bunch of other ones. Even Dwayne Johnson. He's not one of those, top bodybuilders, but he's one of the very top athletes that's more known to be an actor than anything and wrestler. But yeah, a lot of those people too inspired me, but it was really my brother that gave me that spark, my younger brother, to actually jump into fitness. And
That's
so
so
from there, yeah,
sweet.
the rest has been history. I've never looked back. The endorphins I get, the energy I feel when I work out and after I work out, it just doesn't compare to how I used to feel before I got into fitness. So that's what really got me into the working out side of things.
That's
Now, I
awesome.
wasn't really conscious about my health. I wasn't really too concerned about my health though, as
Mhm.
far as like what I was eating.
Right.
So I had my workout regimen on point, and that was coming along pretty well. Of course, I still wasn't as serious about the weightlifting as I am now, and I
Mhm.
wasn't as consistent, but I was still pretty consistent when I got into it because it was a heavy, healthy addiction, really. But after that, I would say what really got me into a healthier eating pattern,
Mhm.
and not just with weightlifting, but actually eating healthy too, were a couple things. I actually started researching what I was eating and drinking. And before, I never even looked at the ingredient labels, the nutrition facts, none of it. Like, none of that even mattered to me. But after really just taking a day, I just wanted just to see what I was eating for one time. And after actually making that, decision, that heavily, um, you know, decision to see what I'm eating and drinking, I realized a lot of what I'm putting in my body is not good. It's not good. It's a lot of it too. It's like you can't even pronounce. And when I
Yeah.
saw the ingredients and I couldn't pronounce much of what I was eating and drinking, I knew there was something wrong.
Yeah.
And not just that, but also the amount of sugar that's pumped into our foods and what we drink too. And additionally, all the sodium that's
Yeah.
thrown in our foods, our drinks. It's insane. And so that definitely took a toll on me. It's like, man, I've been eating and drinking this whole time. That's nuts. Like the fact that I've even been putting this in my body, it's just kind of put a weight on me at first. But then after realizing it and gradually getting myself off of it, I felt that much better though in the long run. And still do to this very day. But yeah, that was something that I was really, really struggling with, was trying to get away from that, because I was so addicted. I was heavily addicted. I was
Yeah.
a sugar addict, really. That's what it was more than anything. And
Oh,
sugar's one of
wow.
those things that people are addicted to, even more than most drugs out there.
Yes.
It's nuts.
Yeah. That is awesome. I love that story. Sibling inspiration is
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, my brother used to inspire me too. My younger brother, he's like a year younger than me, and so everyone always thought he was older than me because
Oh,
he
wow.
act like he's older, and so I call
Yeah.
him my little big bro. And
Oh,
he
that's
used to
awesome.
play football, and at the time when I was growing up, it was a lot of uh guys in our family. I was like maybe one or two girls, but all of the kids are guys. Well, now it's opposite. It's all girls now, and like few sons and cousins and stuff. But I was surrounded by boys, and so I was like, if they can do it, I can do it. He played football, I played football. He lift weights, I lift weights. He backflip, I backflip. So I was like,
Oh, yeah.
yep, and I was like, he's my little brother. If he can do it, I know I can do it. I
Oh,
used to
yeah.
give my mom heart attacks.
Oh, I would imagine. Especially if he did some like really off the wall crazy stuff. It's like, man, I gotta follow though.
Like there was a shed in my aunt's backyard, and all of the boy cousins was outside, and they were like daring each other. I bet you won't flip off it. I bet you won't flip. And I went up and I flipped off the shed, and my mom was like crying and fussing at
Oh
my
man,
dad. She was like, "She's a girl. You said she's a girl."
that's
Yeah, I used to give
crazy.
her a heart attack.
Ah. That's awesome though.
I used to tell the lady, I put her through a lot. I did. I wasn't an inside
Oh
girl.
yeah.
I did play video games. I used to play Tekken. That should tell you how old I am.
Oh, Tekken. I remember it though. Hey, I haven't played a lot of those, but I have played some of the older
Yeah,
ones.
I used to play that.
Gotta love a match of
And my
Tekken.
brother used to he now this is my first time ever being experienced with gambling. He used to gamble. That I guess that's where sports betting came from. He used to gamble. I used to have to beat his
Yeah.
friends.
Oh wow.
Yep.
That's awesome. Hey, it makes the matches that much more fun and interesting at
I didn't
least.
know half of the time what I was doing. I had one little combo and I just kept going with that. I would
Oh
kill him
yeah.
with that. I'm glad you mentioned that sugar is having a sugar addiction is really bad. It's just like being addicted to drugs. Because whew, I'm gonna tell on myself. That is the one thing that I can say that I don't even think I think about it and I'll just gravitate to it. Like, I don't know. You just actually need it. If you feel like you actually need it, especially chocolate. I love chocolate. So it's like, oh, you said it. I'm just going to agree with it. And
Yeah.
we can find some steps later on how we go through our chocolate anonymous class.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things that it's actually a lot more addicting to
Mm,
people than drugs, even in most
yeah.
cases. There's been studies and tests that have shown that. It's
Oh my
crazy.
gosh. I don't want to think about the withdrawals or anything. I don't want to think about it. Oh my God. I want to talk a little bit about mental health. Were there some things that you experienced early on that would lead you into like anxiety, depression? And I know you openly talked about suicide attempt. So what were some of the things that you actually dealt with your mental health?
Yeah, for sure. So some of the things I dealt with my own mental health really were a combination of things. Before I got really into the weightlifting and got into just strength training, I was concerned and really you could even say I was pretty what is the word here? Self-conscious. I was
Mhm.
pretty self-conscious about, my physique and how I looked because a lot of people said and I can't always say they thought it, but they always would say it. Bullies in high school would say, or really before high school when I was in intermediate school, they would always tell me, you know, that I was skinny, that I was more of a toothpick. But it's like, obviously, not something you really want to say to
Yeah.
people, regardless of how they really look. But yeah, that really ate at me. Some of those things that were said to me in
Mhm.
school. And yeah, I just felt that I was less than. And I just had this, crazy mentality that was kind of just part of my,
Yeah.
mindset before some people would even say certain things to you. I would think they're thinking
Yeah.
this. So I just was really self conscious as a kid and I didn't really take care of my overall health. I wasn't like overweight by any means, but I was not, in the shape that I am today, of course. But yeah, after I lifted weights, that definitely improved it dramatically. And ever since, my depression, the anxiety, it's been at an all-time low. So it's been great. But I will say, yeah, suicide was one of those things that struggled with. I always had a lot of suicidal thoughts and tendencies and even attempted it at one point. Luckily, didn't obviously
Thank
pan
God.
out. Otherwise, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be here. But hey, that's a great thing. But yeah, and I like to believe for me and for anyone else, if you're still here, you're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. So, what helped just really sway me from that was healthier eating and just a healthier lifestyle with what I ate, drank, and what I did each morning, especially with
Yeah.
working out. It's definitely just transformed my entire life, the whole trajectory.
Do you feel like you had to give yourself that focus, something that you can kind of like you said, you're here for a reason, you're here for a purpose. something that you can kind of focus on and say, hey, if I am going to be here, my life has to mean something. This is what I want it to mean. Was that something that was really helpful for you?
Yeah, really too, just yeah, having that mindset and really knowing that after I would
Mhm.
work out, I felt like I was working just at
Yeah.
something. Even if I wasn't, actively involved in any career at the time, like before I even was really of working age, I would just work out and that would be my, objective. That would be my job for the day. Because going to school, it's like, okay, well, everyone does that. So I got to find something that fulfills me, from the inside out, something that makes me feel better, of course, with the endorphins, but also just something that I can do, something that I can work at that makes me feel better, and something that ultimately I will enjoy. And then from there, seeing the results of my transformation and just my confidence just dramatically increased. So, yeah, working out increases your confidence by 2000%.
It's awesome.
Hi everyone! Join the Kingdom Fanatics community. Get exclusive content, green room access with our guests, and more. Visit our website at whogodsays.com. Like and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate your love and support. To find all information on joining our community, being a guest on the show, donating on our PayPal donation page, and more, visit us at whogodsays.com. Now back to the show.
That's awesome. Do you have anything that you would like recommend if you're dealing with anxiety and depression or anything like that? What would you recommend? Let's say someone who may not be into fitness as much. What are some like small things that you can do to kind of, help balance out that feeling or that weight?
Yeah, for sure. So if you're not a huge, fitness fanatic like me, that's fine. You can always become one later. But until then, what I really recommend is even if you're not like big and huge on going to the gym, just going for a light walk, I would say, even just every day or maybe every other day, just for like 5, 10 minutes, just to get out into nature. Just that alone, the act of walking, doing some light exercise, but also coupled and combined with nature and going out into nature, just outside, that'll definitely help reduce your anxiety by quite a bit. And then from there, I recommend limiting your caffeine. Not to say caffeine's not good in moderation, because it definitely has its
Hmm.
benefits. I'll take caffeine, but I try to limit it to coffee with like 1 to 2 cups a day. So trying to not really have much more than 190, 200 milligrams max, because any more than that, your anxiety is going to definitely
Yes.
increase with a lot more stress. So limiting your caffeine and cutting it out before 2 p.m. Also, making sure to get enough
Mhm.
rest because the more rest you have, the less stress you have. So that also will help tremendously. And also another thing too, and this isn't always
Mhm.
talked about, but having CBD
Mm.
gummies are really good. They can help you sleep, but in addition, you can also have
Yeah.
daytime ones that can actually just lower your anxiety because CBD is a strand and it's a
Mhm.
cannabinoid, I believe is how
Yeah.
you pronounce it. But it's part of marijuana, which some people have different
Yeah.
opinions and beliefs on that,
Mhm.
and that's fine. But really, the science still proves that it's fine if you just take the CBD without the
Right.
THC in it, and that won't give you any anxiety. If anything, it'll help
Right.
reduce it. So having just a little bit of CBD a day, I would say five
Mhm.
milligrams is a really good starting dose. You want to start with less CBD than more, especially if you're
Yeah.
new to it, because your body will not be used to it. And then you got to just make sure that you're not taking too much because it could really relax you. You don't want to be too
Yeah.
relaxed, but just enough where that anxiety drops
Yeah.
quite a bit, though.
Yeah, that's some great tips. Yep. Walking, yeah, getting into nature. I recently started walking on the beach. I'm in Slidell, which is right outside of New Orleans. And so
Oh no way! I was there just not too
was
long
it
ago. That's
Mardi Gras?
crazy. I did get a Mardi Gras
Okay.
too, or it was like the week before Mardi
Okay.
Gras. But I was there. Yeah, I was in Slidell. That's crazy. You
Yeah.
mentioned that. That is
So I'm
crazy.
like in between. I'm in between New Orleans and I'm in between Biloxi. So I've just recently started walking on the beach in Biloxi and everything. And I actually walked 2 miles and I thought it was going to be hard. But when you don't really have other things to focus on, it's not that hard. It's not that hard at all. And I do like CBD. I actually had a CBD store online for a few years, but I'm thinking of putting it back up. But yeah, yep.
Nice.
CBD helps with anxiety and stress, aches and muscle pain and all. Yeah, it's great for everything. And you
Oh
don't get
yeah,
a
yeah.
high.
There's CBD
Yeah,
creams
a lot of
even.
people they try to stay away from like I don't want to get high. I get drug tested at work. You don't get a high. It doesn't have the THC. It just have all the other components that helps you within the body. So yeah, that is a
Yeah,
great point. Yep.
exactly. Bonus tip too for anyone that's concerned with getting drug tested, just make sure to get the CBD
Hmm.
isolate, and that way that won't have the THC in it. Also, opting for the gummies or the
Hmm.
droplets or liquid version. That's the best way to do it too, because those two are the most
Yeah.
potent and absorb the quickest and the fastest compared to like capsules. Because if you get capsules, they work, but they're not as effective or
Yeah.
efficient.
Yeah. And the oil has different flavors too, so you won't just taste just the oil. It has different flavors.
Oh
I
yeah.
love the oil. I used to give it to my brother. He used to call every week for oil and the little roll on for his muscles and his back and stuff. Yeah.
Oh cool.
So
Those are the
yeah,
best. Yeah.
CBD is amazing. Like I'm very happy for that scientific let's say discovery. I'm
Oh
very
yeah.
happy for that
Yeah.
one. Yes. Okay, so how would you advise the audience on breaking old patterns? A lot of time when people think about their fitness, whether it's physical or mental, it's usually a mindset thing that gets people into, well, I can't do this, I can't do that, or I don't have enough time, I can't do this. What are some old patterns how could you advise them on breaking old patterns so they can get themselves into being a little bit more healthier?
Yeah, for sure. I would say that's one of the hardest things to do, especially if you've never done
Right.
it before. So I'll say that just coming from personal experience. But it is definitely doable and possible, and I'm living proof. So, how you do it though, first and foremost, is really just practicing I can
Yeah.
statements. So instead of saying I can't, I won't, say I
Mhm.
can, I will. So basically reversing your mindset, and that is a lot easier said
Mhm.
than done, admittedly. But if you just take the time and take the patience and take the effort to just do that, even if you don't fully believe it, just say it as confidently as possible and trick your mind to
Yeah.
believing it. And just say it out loud if you have to. Write it down, say it out loud, and memorize and rehearse it, even if you need to. Basically, any way that it takes to actually get your subconscious to agree with what you're saying out of your mouth. I would say, first and foremost, that's the most important thing. After that, just take it day by day. Don't rush into trying to break your old pattern, because it's just like if you're trying to quit smoking, that's a bad pattern. And if you're trying to break that, you can't just quit smoking right away. Ideally, you would,
Right.
but for mainly everyone, if not everyone, it's probably not going to happen. So, what you want to do is just gradually cut down and taper off the
Yeah.
cigarettes. And of course, you could even see a hypnotist. I definitely believe that can actually help. So if you want to speed it up a little bit, try that. But even if you don't do that, at the very least, back to what I was saying, just gradually
Yeah.
taper off whatever, old bad habit or vice that you have. Just gradually wean yourself off of it little by little. And that's the best thing that you can do with any bad habit that you might currently have.
Yeah. That's awesome. And what about do you think it would be effective if you kind of take baby steps in the opposite direction? Just saying that let's say you watch TV 6 hours a day. How about taking a step in the opposite direction. Let's take a walk, like you said, for 5 minutes a day. You know, I think that would kind of help
Yes,
too.
that's another solid way of doing it. So if you're trying to create better
Yeah.
habits, then after you're trying to wean yourself off of those bad habits, like I was suggesting, what you could do on the inverse side of things is gradually work towards, better,
Yeah.
healthier habits, such as walking more, getting out into nature more, and just doing that like 5-10 minutes a day, or maybe even 5-10 minutes every other day, and just building off of that. And whatever goal that you have, fitness, financial, personal, relationship, whatever it is, you can do that same kind of
Yeah.
methodology.
Yeah. That's awesome. Do you eat meat? Yeah.
Do I eat meat? I do. I'm not a self-proclaimed vegan by any means. I'm not a vegan. Now, not to say that you can't be a vegan and be healthy. That's totally fine if that's your own, viewpoint and stance. That's cool. Not to say you have to do that, but I definitely do eat meat. It would be hard not to. Not to say I couldn't. If I really wanted to be,
Mm-hmm.
I could be. But yes, I eat meat. I eat white
Okay.
meat though, primarily. Now, if I do have any, red meat,
Very
it's
little.
very minimal and very much a once in a while type
Okay.
thing.
So I know that keto is a big thing for a lot of people now, and like a lot of people have asked me, have I tried keto? And when I looked it up and really saw what it was, I was like, well, I've been eating like that my whole life. I eat meat and vegetables all the time. And I still eat carbs, but I eat carbs very little because I don't eat rice. I haven't eaten rice since I was maybe 12 years old. So I don't eat rice. I eat pasta every now and then, and I eat bread every now and then. So I've eaten meat and vegetables almost my whole life. And um I just wanted to figure out like what would I know that once you get into ketosis, you're supposed to burn more fat. But can your body get used to it and not react the same? That was like a burning question that I've always had for years now.
Right. So keto, I will say, much like every other fad diet out there, I don't believe it's necessary by any means to burn fat and lose weight. It's not necessary one bit. I will say it is a thing you can do if you want to lose weight,
Mhm.
burn fat, if you do it
Yeah.
right, though. The only way is if you're in a caloric deficit. You have to make sure you're taking in less calories than your body's burning
Mm.
off. So basically, you want to burn off more calories than you're eating. That's the only real, one surefire way to lose weight, no matter which diet you
Yeah.
might be on. So that is what I recommend first and foremost. From there, your body should never really get used to burning fat too much where it won't
Mhm.
burn fat, as long as your calories, are below what you're burning off. And as long as you're sticking to that, you should burn fat, no matter if you're on in ketosis or not in
Okay.
ketosis.
Okay. That was just a side bit for myself. I was being a little bit selfish.
Yeah, that's a good question though. Yeah, you would think your body gets used to something that it won't do the same
Yeah, I
thing.
just kind of thought about it because I was like, I've been not to say that I decided to be on a keto diet or anything, but when I really just started looking at it and everything, I was like, I've been eating like this for years. I mean, there was some
Yeah,
dishes that I tried once I really started looking at it, but other than that, I was like, I've been eating this for years, and I was like, okay,
yeah.
yeah. So I was being selfish for a second. I just wanted to know.
No, that's a great question though.
Okay. What would you say has been your biggest physical and mental obstacle when it comes to your own fitness journey?
Yeah, I would say my biggest obstacle was not even really the physical side of things as far as when it comes to my health and fitness journey. I would say my biggest obstacle was definitely a
Mhm.
mental one, and it was more along the side of
Mm.
nutrition. And basically, that was the very
Okay.
beginning of my fitness journey when I was really trying to get serious about it. So it was so difficult and so challenging for me just to get away from all those sugary filled
Mm.
foods and all the highly processed foods, all the candies and cakes, pastries, everything that a lot of people love. It was hard for me to get away from that. And then not even just that, but I would eat a lot of foods with a lot of salt, like Slim Jims, a lot of deli meat that had a lot of salt in it. And I just didn't really honestly know I was eating that much salt because I was just so conditioned to that just with my everyday eating habits. So that was definitely crazy when I started really investigating that and seeing what I was eating. It's like, man, this is not remotely good. This is not healthy. Not at all. But yeah, seeing that was just totally crazy. But I will say that was my biggest hurdle. That was my biggest obstacle, was trying to put down the unhealthy foods and trying to get away from that as much as I could. Because I always had that craving. And I remember, like, when I was a cashier at a grocery store, I would see a lot of people come out in my checkout line. And it was kind of like a way to tempt me indirectly. I felt life was trying to tempt me with more candy, just more, high salt foods and snacks. And I kept seeing people get it. And I'm like, well, I'm literally trying to get away from this, but it's coming right to me. And I have to like touch it and check people out with it. I'm like, this is not even cool. So that was really rough, especially in that time period when I was just cutting it out. And then I was seeing it on almost a daily basis. I couldn't hardly get away from it, to say the least. So that was rough. That was definitely rough. Now I, of course, and ultimately did overcome that. I did overcome that, luckily. But it was hard, just trying to taper myself off of that. But back to that, like what I was saying and what we were talking about with breaking old habits, just weaning yourself off. And that's what I did. Even though I was seeing all that on a daily basis, I built up a discipline inside me mentally that, I got to get off this. I'm just going to do it one step at a time, one soda at a time. I'm going to cut out a day. One serving of candy at a time I'm going to cut out. And eventually I won't even have it. And eventually I got to that point, luckily, to where I'm currently at now. But that was definitely my biggest struggle. And then I would say from there, anything physical that I was struggling with was probably just working out at a later time, because I had a, schedule back then where I would always work out late because my job and everything else before that made it hard to work out earlier. So I would usually show up at the gym at night. And that was not an easy thing to do because I'm more of a morning lifter. Even now, that's what I do. And so back then, when I worked out at night, it was so difficult. It was so difficult to try to muster up that energy to get a really solid pump in. Now I did, but honestly, it would have been like 2 to 3 times easier if I would have done it in the morning. So that was probably my biggest obstacle physically when I really started my fitness journey, though.
So do you have cheat days?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I honestly, in the traditional sense, I would definitely say no. I would say no. In what most people think of as a cheat day, I would say no. Now, I will say there's nothing wrong with having a cheat meal if you have it like once a week. I'm all for that. If you want to have it once a week, especially if that's just how your body's set up, to function. But I do recommend, if all possible, just try to cut it out of your diet if you can completely. Now, if you have to have it in your, like, if your mind's telling you have to have it and it's like a huge withdrawal otherwise, I'd suggest one cheat meal a week. But ideally, just to cut it out of your diet if you can just mentally get that, restraint going. Because restraint is strength.
So what do you do on birthdays? For birthdays, how do you celebrate? We don't have any birthday cake. What happens on birthdays?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because my birthday was literally just a month ago, actually. A month and a day ago, to be specific. Yeah. Thank you. 26 now. 26. Been at it for about 11 years now, working out. It's crazy. But yeah, thank you. But also, on top of that, though, yeah, I will say I don't really have birthday cakes. What usually happens is, honestly, the unhealthiest I go, I guess you could say, would be to maybe have a small, serving of like pasta or something that's not like terribly
Okay.
unhealthy, but just, yeah. So that's like a once in a year,
Yeah.
type thing. So I don't usually go overboard or anything, but I'll have maybe a couple breadsticks and just like a small serving of pasta. Treat myself, for my birthday. Got to do it.
Oh,
So,
that's so sweet. Okay, so I know that your brother
oh
got you
yeah.
into fitness, and that sibling inspiration is awesome. What inspires you now, and how do you stay motivated?
Yeah. What inspires me now really is seeing everything up to this point right now that I've accomplished, just from little to huge things, but also envisioning my ultimate success of what I want in my life with my career, my relationship, just everything. So it really visualizing that and envisioning my success to come forth as soon as possible, that really rushes me to get there, and it really puts a rush through me to actually want to get there that much sooner. So I will say that is probably my biggest inspiration, seeing that and just envisioning that, on top of just seeing everything I've accomplished and writing those things
Yeah,
down that I've
that's
accomplished.
awesome. Okay, okay. So how have you helped your previous clients, and how you're helping your current clients now?
Yeah. So what I've done in the past for past clients and even some clients that I'm
Mhm.
still working with today, I will say a huge thing that I've done is help them with the physical, but the
Yeah,
mental too, because they're both
yeah,
intertwined and very much interconnected. So making sure their mental states, fine, that they're doing good in their own personal life with their job, or if they're retired, maybe just that they're feeling good every day that they get up. And then making sure they have at least some motivation just to get to the gym, making sure that I'm on top of their workouts for them, because it's a
yeah,
group effort. Of course, it's having them get to the gym or in their home gym wherever they work out, but making sure that I'm pushing them to you along the way to to get it in right. And then of course making sure I see their progress pics so I can just really dial in where we're at and where we need to go to keep making great
yeah.
progress. And then, of course, too, making sure their meal plans are up to standard, up to date with their current goals, with their height, their weight, just everything that they want to achieve. And then I would say what I really do beyond that for not just them, but clients that I have currently are really just pinpointing any future goals that they might have, especially if they're a recurring client. But if they're a new client, I just try to really analyze what their goals are, what they have for preferences, like what do they like to eat, what do they not like to eat, do they want a specific diet, or do they just want to be more of a overall balanced diet with more protein. So I try to just dial that into, and then really make sure that their sleep's good, their energy's good, that any and all pain that they have is
Yeah.
going down, their flexibility is increasing, and just making sure that their overall well-being and happiness is on point. And again, making sure their mental state is on par. Because if their mental state is not, in check, their physical and their overall health will not be in
Yeah.
check. So I just try to make sure everything's in line and everything's in sync.
That's awesome. I like how you kind of touch on different areas that actually have an effect on you as a whole. That that right
Oh yeah.
there. I mean, because you will usually hear somebody say they're a fitness coach and they're focusing on lifting weight, or someone else is a coach and they're focusing on dieting. But I like that you pinpoint these different areas, but you actually work with the person as a whole. Let's attack this as a whole. Your mind, your body, the fluidity of your body. Those things are important, and a lot of people don't know it. And especially like you say, if you're retired, you're not going to just give out a person who's retired and say, "Hey, this is your exercise plan," and you're giving them the same plan as someone who's 25 years old. Why would that even be the
Yeah.
same?
Exactly. You got to make sure everything's tailored to whatever age group and their experience and fitness
Right.
level too. Because that's crazy. I've seen some crazy stuff with some
Yeah,
people. I'm
like,
like,
why would that even be the same? Why would I
I
be
don't know.
doing the same thing a 25-year-old is doing? I cannot do the same thing
Yeah.
a 25-year-old.
Doing a lot of supersets, drop sets, and we're also going to throw in a lot of circuits with several things of 5 sets
Yeah,
of
I
5
will
thrown in.
spell sets for you. That's about it. Yeah, but I really like that you take this holistic approach. And so I know a lot of people are probably saying, why are we talking about fitness and why are we talking about health? And this podcast is called Who God Says. Well, I call myself a kingdom ambassador. And in the kingdom of God, God made us perfect in his own image, right? And so what we do with this body that he's given us is very important. This is what we call in the kingdom of God our temples, right? And so, as this being our temple, how are you stewarding what God has given you? You know, like you said, are you eating the right things? Just because it's called food doesn't mean you're supposed to eat it. You know, are you eating the right
Exactly.
things? How is your mindset? Are you focusing on the right things? Are you moving around to make sure that, hey, if you want to be here for your grandkids, how are you going to do that? You can't be here for your grandkids and you sitting down all day. You know, so
Oh, yeah.
stewardship is not just about money. Stewardship is about everything that God has given you, even your body, your mind, your soul, your money, your children, your relationships. So that's why today I wanted you to come on and talk about the mental and physical side of this temple. That's why I had you on today, and I'm so glad I had you on. I loved every
Yeah.
minute of it. What are some of the upcoming
Yeah, it's
things
been
that you
great.
have coming up? Any projects or anything that you're working on?
Yeah, so I will say, mainly just right now, actually self-submitted to a couple other talent agencies. Beyond that, as far as the acting and modeling stuff goes, beyond that, just waiting on some auditions and seeing what happens with those, and then possibly getting more auditions. So nothing like set in stone right now. I will say, be on the lookout though for a commercial I did in Florida. It was right around Orlando, actually. It was fun. It was like a men's shaving commercial, so kind of fitness based a little bit. And yeah, it was awesome. It's supposed to air nationally on ESPN, actually,
Awesome.
this month actually, I think mid to late of this month. About, yeah, ESPN nationally, so be on the
Okay.
lookout. It's Sculpt Master Pro Shaver. That's what it's called, and I'm excited
I'm
to see
excited
it.
for you. Yay. Oh my gosh.
Yes. And also, there was a movie that I was in, Reagan. I was a Secret Service agent alongside Dennis
Okay.
Quaid, who actually played former President Ronald Reagan, and he looked just like him too. It was crazy, but that was fun. So that was already supposed to release, but COVID and some
Yeah.
other stuff pushed it back with the, what was that, strike
Mhm.
too. But with all that out of the way, or mainly out of the way, luckily, it should be releasing later this year.
Awesome.
So also be on the lookout for Reagan.
Yay. Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah, it's been
Oh
great
my
though.
God. Thank you so much, Roman, for coming and sharing with us. I appreciate you. I thank you so much. I want to ask you one more question before I let you go. What do you believe is your purpose?
Yes, I would say my ultimate purpose in this current life of mine is really just being, that guide and mentor, for everyone to also achieve their goals and dreams, not just, their career goals, such as what I've been working towards with acting and modeling and even helping people, but also being that guide and mentor and coach to help people transform their minds and bodies both, so they can always just live the life that they've always wanted to
That is
live.
so awesome. Thank you so much. Thank
Oh
you
yeah.
so much. Tell the people where they can connect with you.
Yeah, so if you want to connect with me more, just see more about what I do and the people I've helped, and if you also have some fitness goals or any other goals that you want to have to just really be healthier, you can find me at romanfisherofficial.com. And yeah, there's an application link to fill that out, and we can get started from there. And if you also want to connect with me one-on-one on social media, I'm on there on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Roman Fischer Official. That is my handle.
Awesome. Thank you again for coming in.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today on the Who God Says podcast with your host and Kingdom Ambassador, Tyshaundra. Go to whogodsays.com to join the mailing list for episode premieres, upcoming guests, and more. Send in your questions to be a part of the show at whogodsays@gmail.com. And don't forget, join the Kingdom Fanatic community. Until next time, be blessed and also be a blessing.